Well, I'm excited because you've signed to this wonderful label and you're working now with Carl Wolf. What was it about 4 a.m. Vibes that really drew you to be a part of their music program?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like we have like a long history, which is interesting. So Carl and I, we've been kind of like rotating each other's worlds for like the last 7, 8 years. And he's always been like just a great like online friend, I guess you could say. I'd release like a piece of music, and if he really liked it, he would literally just be like, Danny, this is great, like keep going. And there was just this really cool like camaraderie that we had, even though we really didn't know each other very well. And then it was really bizarre because I was with another label for 3 years, and I broke the contract with that label all in good. It was a wonderful relationship I had with those people. But then I was kind of like floating alone for like a week, and I was figuring out where I was going to go next. And I was entertaining some offers at the time, but out of the blue, Carl calls me, and it was just so funny because like his timing was like perfect. He called me, we had a great conversation, and he was just like, Danny, like I want you to be the first person on my label. And I'm like, really? And it was just a really cool, like, he has just such a great energy, honestly. And it was just a perfect, I was like, you know what, I'd rather go with somebody that I know has my best interest 100% at heart, rather than go with the big guy and then feel like maybe I'm not a priority. And with Carl, like we just get along great, like our working relationship's really good.
How would you describe your sound then?
Yeah, I'm definitely a dance artist, so I love to make upbeat like dance music. But it's really cool because I've worked with a lot of different producers, and kind of like the the way production is going, they kind of take away some of the special pieces of somebody's voice. Like if you listen to like generic pop music, everything kind of sounds the same. Like there's not a whole lot of singing anymore. There's more like kind of spoken singing, I kind of call it. And with Carl, when we get in the studio, like he likes to refer to me as like Pat Benatar meets Dua Lipa, or like because I have a bit of that '80s grit, and it's really cool because in the new single Fire Alarm, we kept some of that vibe in there, which is really dope. But I think that what we're creating is pretty original.
Who are some of your musical influences, artists that you grew up listening to?
Mm. Well, I definitely grew up listening to a lot of '80s music and '70s music because my father was a musician. Like he was always in the house blasting music, playing music. And I used to love, oh man, what's the name of the song? Foreigner. I used to love Journey. I loved all these like older bands, and Electric Light Orchestra, stuff that had all like the really fun orchestral like synths. And I think that's still like a flavor that I really love to put in my music. But yeah, like as far as like role models though, there's one that I always talk about, and it's Amanda Marshall. And I grew up because like loving her, because I remember seeing her at a concert when I was 13, 14, and just her presence on stage and her power was so unique and aspirational. And I was like, wow, like I want to be that woman, like she was wonderful.
Well, I think Fire Alarm is the start of maybe a new sound for you, as we've seen you do a lot of dance pop in the past, or R&B even. Is this a permanent shift that you're making, or was this something about Fire Alarm when you heard it, read it, that really was like, all right, this could be a Dani Doucette banger?
Yeah, well, the actually how Fire Alarm came about is pretty much how all of my music comes about. So I do write my music, and Carl and I like we got. I remember just like I walked into his place and we sat down and we're like, okay, we're gonna create something today, which is generally how it starts. And he's like, okay. He's like, take my lead on this one. Let's try something like '80s vibes because like the weekend's done it, but like a woman hasn't done it. And I'm like, that's so true. And I'm like, I'm like, and I love the sound. So we just sat down and I just started like writing out lyrics, and I'm like, what do I want to say in this song? And honestly, there's been, as a woman in the music industry, it's a different vibe. Like it's definitely a challenge. And a lot of people think like, doors open for women, and I'm like, they a lot of doors can open, and I'm not gonna lie, like there's been doors that have opened, but they're not the doors you want to walk through. And so it's been an interesting journey. And this song's really about resilience and about like saying like fuck off to anybody that thinks that it's not possible to like actually fucking make it all the way. And it's like my anthem. This song's like definitely my anthem. It's like, who are you? You want to see me burn? Like doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you think. I'm gonna do whatever hell I want.
Is that what you also have found that fans have really reached out to you and said they connect with, as far as the song is, letting it all go and not caring enough anymore about letting it all, just giving themselves permission?
Yeah. Yeah, I just I've always wanted my music to feel so like authentically myself that people feel the connection that I feel when I'm writing it. And like the messaging to me in a lot of my music is empowerment and like and resilience and just about being a strong woman and being a strong person. Doesn't have to be a strong woman, like a strong person, because you really like to take on even like the music industry or a lot of things in life. Everything requires like, a certain amount of confidence and like ability to believe in oneself. That's something that I'm always trying to like have a bit of toughness in my music where people relate to that. Um, yeah, like a lot of the new songs that are gonna come out kind of follow the same theme. Think of like Wonder Woman meets Laura Croft music.
That's great. I was just gonna say, is there an EP or an album in the works?
Yeah, well, we're definitely Carl and I have been cooking. We got lots of stuff that we've been working on. So it's just dependent on like, I think it's going to be probably a singles releasing once at a time. And then when the time comes, get that EP out.
Well, what is your songwriting process? Does it take you finding lyrics and then you find a matching beat, or do you create this beat and then you find lyrics that you feel like totally fits with the theme of the music?
hmm I consider myself a full creative in the fact where I love like so I little history. I grew up when I was in high school. I was the only female member of like a freestyle group. So we would literally like I would just kind of like be in a circuit and like and I was the only girl, so all the guys would just be like da 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 da, and I'd be like, okay, like what's the melody that would go cool with this? So it'd be like a good hook. Kind of like a little bit of a school in writing melody and lyric quickly. So most of the time when I go into a studio, like I'll come up with like a random idea for just like a word. So like for instance, we have this like fire alarm, for instance. I don't even know how it came about, but I'm like fire, and I'm like, okay, what would be the story surrounding this? And then Carl, as he builds the beat, I start putting the words to the melody. And I've always considered myself more of a poet in a sense where I love to attach like a story to notes. And I also go by like the feel of the the production. So if the production feels a certain way, I'm like, oh, this is lending towards a bit of like a romantic sounding song or a dance track. And, what is the message I want to do? So I'm very much on the fly when I write. I mean, I've written a lot of music where I haven't done it that way, but I prefer to do it that way.
When it comes then to the production side of the music you make, how much of a hand have you had in that, or has Carl encouraged you to get more involved recently?
Yeah, interesting. For the most part, I'm sitting there from the day we start the song to the end. So I do influence, I think, the production in a way because I'm very I know the sounds that I like and the things that I don't, because I have been making music for a long time. So I definitely have a hand in it. But as far as with Carl, he likes to take the lead as far as like melodies and things, and I'm totally happy with that because he's definitely got an ear and he's trained and he's one of a kind for sure. He's definitely got like a really cool way of producing.
Well, we talk about this upcoming music that you have. Have you been featuring any collabs on this new works that you've been doing, or are you focused more right now on just some solo music and then maybe something in the future where you team up with someone?
Yeah, I'm always open to collaborations. There's a couple people I'd really like to work with, but right now I'm just focusing on me. I mean, the fire alarm technically with a little duet with Carl in there, which is pretty awesome. And we had a lot of fun with that. Um, so that was like probably one of the first collabs that I've released on my page, to be honest. So to move forward, I'm not too sure. We're kind of just focusing on me getting my brand a little bit more familiar, I guess you could say. And yeah, who knows what's in the future. There's been a lot of people coming through the woodwork that want to work together, and I just got to like figure out what makes sense for me, I guess.
That's wonderful. You mentioned some dream collabs. Who would those be?
Good question. So
Amanda Marshall.
yeah, through for a tour, and I didn't actually end up getting to go see her again, but I would love to like meet her and like be like, yo, do you know how much of like an influence you had on me, like, as a kid and as a woman in general, really. Um, I mean, I would love to work with like Dubs. That would be really cool. Then they're Canada based. Loud Luxury. I'd love to make some really cool like dance bangers with those guys. Charlotte Cardin. I'd love to write with her. She's a really cool artist. Also, it's funny, like Rev and I, we keep like we're kind of like in each other's like circles. I would love to like do a female power duo with Rev. I think we would like our voices would be cool together. And I haven't heard too many like female duets yet. You know what I mean? So that'd be fun. I did have a collab with Everything Oshan. He's a really great rapper out of Canada. But I'm not sure when I'm going to release that track. So I think we might start something fresh. But yeah.
What would you like to say then to everyone who are fans and supporters of the incredible music that you make?
Thank you. Honestly, like, thank you. Like I feel like that's such like a cliche thing to say, but like it's true. Like, you know, I make music because I love to do it. It's the only thing I want to do. And, without listeners, like there's really, I mean, hey, I'd still be doing it, but but it would make my job harder. Um, and I just want to say, like, yeah, stay resilient, keep your flame lit, and just like, go for whatever that thing that is in your heart that's passion. Life is too short, and it's really true. Like life is too short to not do the things that you love. And yeah, I'm a testament to that. I'm like, you got 100 years if you're lucky. All I want to do is just live my life the way I want to live it. So I'm doing my best to make that happen.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.